To think about a time, it's been a while since pre-Crow's Nest. I believe it was back in 2012. We are a furniture company, and we would manage the production of the furniture in a very fragmented, almost call it handmade system of Excel documents, Google Docs, emails, printed sheets of paper and binders. The few people that were involved with managing, it wasn't a lot, it was myself and maybe one other. Everything from entering an order to seeing where that order was in its life on the shop floor, to after the order is fulfilled and delivered. It was all in varying locations within different file types, as I mentioned before. And it became very difficult to manage all of it. And we just got to a point where I knew it was going to catch up with us. And I knew that there had to be a better solution. So it wasn't like we were coming from an ERP system already that had issues with it. We were literally coming from nothing. Thinking back to how it came to be that we chose Crow's Nest, I remember looking at a few others. I didn't exhaust all the options that are probably out there, just because small business really didn't have a lot of time and resource to put into exhaustive research on all the different options that were out there. I remember one was Job Boss, and another, I can't remember some of these names, but they were all, a lot of them seemed to be from job shop type companies, their clientele were very job shop, which isn't a bad thing. It just wasn't what we did. But what really caught me was that when I would do, say, a demo of the software with one of the sales reps, and I would ask a question about how some of the functionality could apply to my situation, the answer I got, long and short, was I left with a feeling that I'm just kind of trying to be sold here, and they're not really going to solve my issue. And that was something that was really important to me. Taking our first leap into a major investment into a new type of software where we had just been using, free Google Cloud documents. When I came upon Crow's Nest, working with Paul and with Norm, it was a completely different experience. Not only with explaining, calmly and thoroughly the functionality of it, but just the assurance that they were going to allow for the modification of it, whether it was with report writing or to solve the need at hand. And they gave a few examples, and that was ultimately what swayed me to make the decision to go with Crow's Nest to start. Crow's Nest delivers tremendous value to our organization and the way that we run our business. From the point of order entry, everything is in one place, and that was really critical for us. It allows us to have one central system that anyone that we bring into the organization can be trained and can get the answer that they need. It really helped us with inventory management. Before Crow's Nest, we didn't have a firm grasp on our raw materials. It was difficult to capture cost associated with the different products that we sell. And Crow's Nest allowed us to feel confident that as we were putting data into it, that it was in a way that we were going to be able to mine that data and get the answer out of it that we needed. And that was tremendously valuable. We were able to understand how much, we work a lot with wood, so how much solid lumber went into a project, how much time it might take for a certain process to do. Compare that against a previous iteration of that same product, because we don't build it the same way every time. We're a very hand-built basis, so we could improve a system on the shop floor that makes a real big benefit. We want to measure that. So I couldn't imagine doing it without Crow's Nest. In fact, at the scale that we're at now, I basically, it allowed me to get so much minutia out of my mind and into a system that could then easily be conveyed to the other people in the organization that needed it, versus, hey Dan, I have a question for you. Hey Dan, I've got a question for you. There was no way I'd be able to keep up with it. So really, when I think about it at its heart, it's that all the information about what we do day in and day out is in a central spot, and the user interface to access it is where I see so much of its value. My organization has been utilizing Crow's Nest for about 7 years now, and I still feel like there's so much more to it that I'm not even utilizing. But I'd love to share just a couple of features that I find extremely helpful. The calendar function. It's a very dynamic calendar that allows me to look at anything from at a very top level order or the projects that are within that order, tasks that are associated with the order or the project that's within the order. It's a way that you can check budget hours, you can check costs, all within a calendar view that's very dynamic. That's been a great feature. I use it every day. Another feature is, it's not really specific, but again, how everything is linked through, I think on the back end, it's all based on relational databases. But it just seems like there's infinite ways to connect things. So a purchase order is tied to the piece of furniture, in my case, that it is applying to, and that furniture is tied to this project, to this customer, and it's all interconnected. So finding the information that you need, you can access it from different points. You don't always have to go back to its source. You can get at it from different areas. Another one that, this is huge for us, pricing history. So simple, but it was something that we never had before in an easy way. We'd have to thumb through old orders or look through QuickBooks and try to understand what what we might have paid for a certain part. Crow's Nest has a functionality of vendor pricing history with very controllable filters. So you can be looking for a part and when you bought it and how much you bought it for. You can also say, well, for which vendor, because maybe you buy it from multiple vendors. And so you can now then say, well, from this one vendor, all the different parts I buy and what's that pricing history. And that's helped our purchaser be very successful in her job of controlling costs and holding vendors accountable, just making sure there's not clerical errors that we're just paying for. Tremendous value there. Another one that I'm actually excited about doing, which we have not really even scratched the surface on yet, is alerts. Right now, we use very much tasks and the way that one task can trigger another task to trigger another task. Really helpful in managing workflow between different work cells or between different people. But it's all based on the previous task being complete in order to trigger the next. And I'm only just now, 7 years in, learning about the functionality of alerts, where rather than just based on an action, it can be based on time. So that's going to allow me and a floor supervisor or purchasing, that we can have the computer, we can have Crow's Nest in the system alert us when something happens, rather than have a person have to go in to generate whatever that alert might have been or whatever that task would need to be. So that's going to be really groundbreaking for us. So I could go on and on, but there are a lot of really good features that we use every day that just make our jobs a lot easier. Prior to Crow's Nest, we would get an order from one of our showrooms for a piece of furniture. And the system that we had set up, which again was fragmented and a lot of different documents to answer very specific things for us, it would take an admin person about 15 minutes to enter that order into Crow's Nest. Into our fragmented system. An example would be, a Google Doc that was a schedule, and then have to be entered over into a sales pipeline, and it would have to be entered over here for material needed. When we implemented Crow's Nest, we took that down to about 2 minutes. We've even shrunk that more by utilizing templates. Our organization has the advantage that we sell the same thing over and over. We do modify and customize our line, but I would say about half of our orders, call it right off the line, we like to say. It's right off of a pricing guide with a SKU, and there it is. So templates have allowed us to literally enter an order in a matter of a minute, where it's instantly in all different facets of Crow's Nest, from management of the schedule, from the material required, from all the information about what the type of piece that the person ordered, because we can enter it as a template, dates on when things need to happen, tasks that need to happen, and by what date, all of it entered in a matter of a minute from these templates. So something that would have just been impossible to do without a fully comprehensive ERP system to manage our workflow. It's very valuable to, as an owner of a small company, to go to a new employee and say, we have a really good system that you can interact with, and I can get you your answer, but an employee comes and say, hey, I need to answer this type of question, or I need to see a report of all the pieces of furniture that are going to go to the finishing department next week. And I'm able to say, we can work on that. Yeah, give me a second. And within a day or two, I now have something to go back to that employee with, and they go, wow, all right. Here they are supporting me as I need to fulfill my role. And it's something that only occurred to me in the last couple of years as we've grown our company. The value of that has been great. I would recommend Crow's Nest as an ERP system for anyone who's looking to get a better grasp of their workflow, their project management, for I can only imagine varying types of businesses. The support, the functionality, the dynamic user interface as updates continue to come out, just make for a software that you really can partner with. I would always ask, what are you trying to do? Are you coming from an existing ERP, or are you coming from just managing it, in an old-fashioned sort of way, so to speak? But I would share all the benefits that I've experienced, and probably let you know that you wouldn't be making the wrong choice, that's for sure.